All right, hey, welcome. It's three men in the back. Oh, you know what? I screwed up. I forgot to get a hold of Brad. We could have had four men in the box tonight, but
Things could have got weird.
would have been fun. Gentlemen, what we drinking tonight? Nick, I noticed you're out of PBR.
I am, but I've moved on to my Sierra Nevada Celebration Fresh Hop IPA. In case anyone had ever looked at me and thought that this is exactly the kind of beer I drink.
What? How did I describe us? We are the low-cost remainder discount beer of West Ham social media. Jeremiah, how are you, buddy?
I'm good. I am drinking some Crown tonight, so I'm living fancy.
Oh, I got to bring your color up because you know what? You are just dark. I'm just mucking around with the settings while we're getting started here.
You out here.
Hey, there we go.
Got some light.
We'll just zero the whole. And ladies and gentlemen, I introduce you to Movember, Jeremiah Carson. I would
the last day. I'm shaving it tonight, so.
What was really funny is this week I ran into a good friend of mine and his wife. She goes, "Oh, I love it. You're doing the Movember." It's like, no, I just forgot to shave for a week. Gentlemen, we got 3 points this weekend. Who's shocked? Put your hand up. Jeremiah, I did hear you on Green Street. Dude, my heart was completely in my mouth the whole match. I went down with the Mile High Hammers and saw Gina and Mike and all the guys, and we're all just like, we're going to get pummeled. And then we won. And the whole crowd's just like, what?
It was a shock. I think even seeing the Crespo goal, like you can kind of see it as a setup, right? Like, he gets the pass, he's going to cut inside or he's going to try to, and then it goes in. And I'm literally sitting there like this, like
he's got a right foot.
That just happened. And you can see the reaction too, right? Like on Declan Rice, jumping around, just acting like the 20-year-old that he really is. It was fantastic.
Nick, what were your thoughts when you saw that we have a lead?
The whole situation was wild because I think the night before the game, I saw some people on Twitter that were saying some typical West Ham Twitter stuff about Pellegrini, and I saw somebody say something about how it was like, oh, the worst part is that even if we beat Chelsea, like then we've still got to deal with Pellegrini. And I made the comment that like, listen, like I've gone both ways on Pellegrini at this point. Like, I see all sides, but if I said pretty not expecting anything that like, hey, if we beat Chelsea, like that's going to represent him having done something significant enough to get that out of the players that we've seen basically nothing from for a month and a half now. So I don't know, and that's to say, I don't know how much of the Chelsea win I'm going to put on his shoulders, but certainly something changed, and I think that's worth noting. I also note that I'm down in Florida right now. I was in Gainesville, Florida for the weekend.
You'll notice down there. Hang on, I gotta point at Nick. It says Florida under Nick.
So
not Florida.
I'm in Florida. I was in Florida for American Thanksgiving, and I was up in Gainesville, Florida, over the weekend for go back to where I went to college and go to a football game. And I was planning on watching the game at the bar I used to go watch all my football and rugby at when I was in school, and that was like the place that you knew you could get a game on. I've watched us struggle in the FA Cup there. It has never been a problem. But apparently the amount of bars in Gainesville in 2019 with NBC Sports Gold is a bit of a problem. And so, Scott, you hooked me up on Twitter with a friend of ours, kid Mark from Philly, who's been trying to get Philly Hammers up and going again lately. Mm-hmm. And he happened to be, I guess him and his buddies every year, they pick a different American college football game to go to. And they happened to pick UFFSU this year. It was in Gainesville. They happened to be in Gainesville. And so I met up with him and we found a bar that no one had it on at NBC Sports Gold. But we traded off where we watched the first half streaming on my phone and the second half streaming on his phone while we were sitting at the same table at a bar hanging out in Gainesville. So that was a pretty cool experience. And yeah, when Cresswell's goal went in, the two of us were, beside ourselves. That like the last of all of the different sort of, and we had a couple different chances. I'm sure we'll go into it, but of all the ways that we were going to score against Chelsea for Aaron Cresswell to, and I make fun of him all the time for wanting to be a forward, for him to cut in on his right foot. He was essentially, he did a reverse Robin. He like went up the left wing, cut in on his right foot, and bends a shot around the second most expensive goalkeeper in the world.
Yes. It was impressive.
Okay, Aaron.
Nobody was seeing that coming. Well, the thing that killed me is you could see the defense kind of respond to him. Oh, he's going on his right foot. Everybody defended his left foot, and they all kind of went, "Oh yeah, right foot, yeah, no problem." All of a sudden, it's like, "Oh, that was nice." Jeremiah, thoughts on the goal?
Fantastic. I mean, like we said before, it was absolutely stunning. Shocked. Didn't realize it was going to happen, but glad it did, and it just kind of kickstarted everything else that was going on. And like Nick said, I know we're going to get into the other chances and opportunities we have, but yeah, that was just perfect. Everything about that seemed perfect, and I agree with you, Nick. Man, I hate seeing on Twitter just the people slacking off, like, well, now that we won, like it gives Pellegrini more chance. Like, so what? I mean, yeah, we're all slating them off, and we're all like figuring out who we want to be the next manager, who's going to come and take over West Ham. But if we're going to win under Pellegrini, then we're going to win. I don't care who's in charge as long as we're winning.
I posted that today because I kind of got bitched at a little bit by somebody going, "Oh, how do you feel about Pellegrini now?" I still don't think we should keep him. But if he keeps winning, look, I'll shut up. Go, baby. I'm okay with that. Nick, you good with that?
It's certainly if we keep winning. I think he did by beating Chelsea. I mean, that's a game that even had we not been losing as much as we had, I think we probably would have not expected a whole lot from Chelsea away. I mean, we haven't, as much as the stat is upsetting, we have not won at Stamford Bridge since 2002. So,
were you born yet?
Yes. We would not have expected a lot from that fixture. And it is very West Ham, which even Declan Rice pointed out in a post-game interview, is very West Ham.
I made a little video of all the social media responses, and that was on there. It was great. It was fun. It was I want to change gears for a minute. How do you feel about Martin right now? How good do you feel for David Martin?
That's heartfelt, man. So, like, incredibly heartfelt. Just the whole 90 minutes of it afterwards, going up and hugging his dad, the whole team gathering around him. Like, that was, like, literally, I think both of you said it. Like, my heart was like sobbing. It was fantastic to see. You loved it. Every minute of it. It was great. And I cried. I feel bad saying it, seeing Roberto kind of on the sidelines there, kind of looking his little smug self. It was good to see.
He's now our fourth choice goalkeeper. Nick, how'd you feel about Martin?
I got home. I mean, I was in the moment, obviously unbelievable. I got back to my parents' house here, full, over 24, maybe 36 hours after the game ended, and was just trying to relay to them what had happened, and like even just like telling them the story about like, oh, this guy, he was our third string goalkeeper. We bought him in the summer. We struggled with our backup after our starter went down, and finally gets his first start in the Premier League at 33 years old. And his dad, a 21-year veteran legend at West Ham's, in the stands and keeps a clean sheet. Oh God, my whole body, goosebumps, just thinking like
it's like a movie. It's like a movie.
And the Sky announcers at the end were great because they just saw he was down. Mm-hmm. They did not know what was going on. And all of a sudden you see Creswell Rice was already there, and Creswell's running. Other people go, and they pick him up, and it's like, oh, has he been hurt? And all of a sudden the Sky announcer you can hear him just stop and go, oh, the emotion. Mm-hmm. Look, I am an emotional guy. I cry at beer commercials. I cried. I'm okay with it. The best part for me, though, I ordered a David Martin shirt.
I'm going to tell you, Scott, I was tempted after you did it. I kept. It's Cyber Monday here in the States, whatever that means to you and your family. And I've gotten a million emails today, and I got the notification about the jerseys still being on sale. I don't own a single goalkeeper kit. I've never felt compelled, especially since this year's. I think all of the Umbro teams have the same goalkeeper kits.
And they're kind of hideous.
Yeah, or whatever. I had no strong opinions. But as soon as I saw you get the David Martin kit, I'm like, wow, that would it does sort of feel like the kind of thing where like even if Fabianski came back next like on Wednesday, if there's some miracle of science that Fabianski was healthy on Wednesday and was our starter in goal for the rest of the season, you could in years from now I would remember where I was when David Martin kept a clean sheet at Stamford Bridge in front of his dad. Like that's a landmark moment as a West Ham fan.
And so I'm going to throw two things on that.
Yeah.
One, I immediately got stick from people on social media for ordering the kit. It's like, oh, it's too soon. That's like, guys, it's a great freaking story.
Who cares?
And number two, it's the same guys who go, well, I remember Dick Flangleberry who scored a goal and, with one leg, 25 years ago when I was in the chicken run and a match that nobody else remembers. Like, guys, come on, have a little imagination, have some fun with it. Look, he is a 33-year-old rookie getting a clean sheet on his first attempt in the English Premiership. That's a great story. His dad, club legend, great. Away match at Stamford Bridge. Nick, as you said, 17 years since we won there. Enjoy the moment. Take the moment. My gosh, we've had a crap year. Enjoy those moments. Absolutely. Hey, shifting gears. We've talked about that. Anything else you want to say about the match, Nick?
God, I love beating Chelsea so much.
Yeah.
We talk a lot about, I won't digress for too long. We obviously all hate Tottenham, and we know that our buddy Dave is probably chief among us in his hate for Tottenham. And I always, as an American supporter, we don't develop a hatred for clubs like Tottenham and Chelsea the same way that you do if you're, born and raised East London, West Ham. But I have a lot of friends as an American supporter. I have a lot of friends that are Chelsea supporters. Chelsea were a bigger team in the U.S. much earlier than Chelsea and Man U and Arsenal were. When all my friends growing up started watching football, it was all those three clubs. And I've got a lot of friends that are good Chelsea fans. One of which I woke up. He lives in San Francisco and does not appear to have woken up to watch Chelsea play West Ham, but I woke him up on Saturday morning to let him know how that game went. Oh God, do I love beating Chelsea so much.
How about you, Jeremiah? Any last comments on the match?
Yeah, two things. Probably my second favorite part, besides the Martin, just his overall everything, was in that kind of WhatsApp group that we're in with the Mile High Hammers. And I think Charlie posted something with the Antonio goal that got kicked back, but he's like, I think it went off his nether regions. I don't know why, but I was dying laughing at that. And
yes,
yeah, that was
I
great.
know that was
secondly,
hilarious.
Like you said, Nick, with Chelsea and the amount of American support that they have, especially with Pulisic coming in and rightfully so, Captain America, all that. But of course, I posted up all over social media about Captain America getting dethroned, and I got a lot of flack for that. Even for some West Ham American supporters, they're giving me some flack for that. So either way, I thought it was great, and yeah, it was just a good feeling, and hopefully we can keep it going.
Cool. Jeremiah, talk to me. What do you know about the kids this week?
Really, I just want to keep it focused on two things. I mean, I know we've been talking about goalkeeping, and we're going to kind of keep it at goalkeeping. And I feel like every week that seems to be a topic of debate. But realistically, it's been pretty good. Obviously, Trot, you guys know, being out on loan, Trot's been fantastic. Scott, I'm going to let you pull up the thing that you sent me yesterday because I am not, mechanically inclined or have been drinking too much or something like that. But I'm going to let you figure that out for me. But also with Anang, we all know that Anang got called up and Anang was practicing, and I'm assuming he's still practicing with the first team. It looks like he's going to get that opportunity eventually, and he might be the next name that does get called up to kind of graduate from the academy. So that's pretty exciting stuff.
It is.
Definitely, I think, a name that we all knew, but not a name that we might have expected to be kind of the next name to come up. I think we're all figuring, Holland or somebody else like that. But yeah, it's good to see that. I think just overall, and the kind of embrace and the outpouring. I don't know who all you guys follow on Instagram as far as players, Instagram and Twitter, but a lot of the academy players.
I just follow Nick on Instagram. That's
just
it.
Nick. I'm sure it's really delightful then.
And now, actually, to be fair, we do have an Instagram page now.
It's true. It's
yes.
true. You should put it up top or down low or somewhere. But
next week we'll put it on next week.
Yeah. But the outpouring of support from the academy players and the youth team, just really supporting David Martin and talking highly about him, and just it was fantastic to see. Just the overall class that West Ham still have, regardless of what's happening with winning and losing, it's still there, and it's fantastic to see.
Cool. Nick, anything going on in Europe that we should think about this week?
This week, not so much. Though I did want to bring up two things real quick. One, a note, one, a question for a quick conversation. The first note, which you might have noticed, so they did the preliminary draws for the Euro 2020's groups for next summer.
You're going to watch a lot of England, aren't you, Nick?
And so, obviously, as West Ham supporters and people who are friends with a lot of West Ham supporters, there are quite a few of our acquaintances are big followers of the English national football team. And they will be more concerned with the sort of what I'll call mild drama of drawing Croatia in their Euro group after they were astonished to find out that the Croatians were not as tired as they thought they would be after 2 straight games going to penalties in the World Cup. What I would like to highlight, though, which I cannot believe was allowed to happen and is I'm in our friend Dan, our lovely friend Dan Roberts. He made a joke about it hours before the draw happened. The England FA account had posted this tweet where it sort of played us a picture like a slot machine cycle of all of the different countries that could end up in a group with England. And it was like, stop it and see like what comes up. Like, are you essentially playing like a little slot machine game with who's going to be in a Euro group with England? And Dan happened to stop it on a group that included Croatia and Serbia together and was like, wow, this would absolutely kill Nick. Turns out, so Croatia did wind up in the group with England. It's England, Croatia, and the Czech Republic, and then one spot left open for whoever wins playoff track C in those playoff games that decide in March that decide what last 3 teams get into the Euros. Playoff track C is the playoff track that Serbia is in. So if all goes, I guess, according to plan, if all goes. If Serbia does well against, I think I'm going to forget their first games against Norway for sure, and then if they beat Norway, they'll play the winner of Israel and Scotland to decide who goes into that 4th spot in that group. If Serbia managed to, and it's a big if, I don't want to underrate any of the teams in the group, then Serbia and Croatia could end up in a group together in the Euros, which, mind you, Croatia perennially qualifies for the Euros. Serbia's had some trouble. This past World Cup, I believe, was the first World Cup that they had both qualified for since 2006, when Serbia was still Serbia and Montenegro. Croatia has only been, they've only been separate countries since the 90s. So there haven't been a lot of competitions going by for this to happen. So it will be, and I think a lot of those games are being played in the UK. So boys, if you're planning any trips in Serbia, and honestly, even if they don't, even if it's just Croatia playing England in England, boy, I might need to be there. I might need to go.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be sitting on the edge of my seat until literally March, waiting for that. The question I wanted to bring up, though, regarding European play. And because we have the January transfer window coming up, I posed this in our WhatsApp group earlier. When you guys see a player who's playing for a club that's in the Champions League, also restricted to the Champions League, just to be fair, playing in the Champions League and doing very well in those Champions League group stage games, playing against clubs from all over Europe, from various different leagues, but it's the Champions League. It's the highest stage of club football we've got available.
And it's all the money. Let's be clear. That's where the money is.
Lots of money.
It's for all the chips. How do you guys balance your evaluation of a player's performance, knowing that, all right, they're playing against Champions League competition, so clearly they're playing at the highest stage against the pool of clubs that are the best, but their domestic league is poor. Now, a really on-the-nose example would be Moussa Marega from FC Porto, who we have been linked with a number of times as a forward target, where he has been productive as a player in Champions League games, and yet we still get a lot of complaints that he plays in a farmers league in Portugal, that Liga Norte is too isn't good enough, or I could go on and on about the number of players on Dinamo Zagreb that have looked great in the Champions League against the likes of Shakhtar Donetsk or Atalanta or other sides from big European leagues. But they go back to their country and they play in a domestic league that's probably got 2 or 3 teams that are sort of worth their salt. So I'm interested to know how you guys feel when you see a player do really well in a European competition like that. How do you balance quality of their domestic league with this player's doing well in the Champions League?
So I really took that question differently than what you just put it. I was busy today, so when you said it, I was thinking more of somebody who was playing themselves, playing crappy in their home league. Not that the home league was bad. Because really, to be honest with you, the name that hopped to mind was Dele Alli. He has not looked good in the domestic league, but he's looked pretty good playing out in Europe. So, that's where I was thinking. Your question's great. I tend to think that if I could get somebody with lots of Champions League experience who played well in Champions League, I don't care about the domestic. I mean, they can bring it. They've got it on the right stage. They can bring it. So, I mean, unless they're completely crapping the like, good example is Sanchez, for our own club, for West Ham. Okay, he's not looked awful last couple times he's played. He's still not great, but he looks really good when he plays internationally because he really fits in that system. So you could take that away. If I could get somebody who played for Red Star Belgrade, who really shone on the international stage in the Champions League, because of the toughness of that league, and it's a physically tough, hard league. It's not fast. Like the Premiership is fast. I would say La Liga is pretty fast too. But if they could play hard as nails, specifically a midfielder, I mean, I would look at their Champions League play and go, yeah, that's where I care. Specifically because I want to get in the Champions League someday before I die. Jeremiah, what are your thoughts?
Good luck on that part. But I think that it's kind of both for me. I think that, a lot of times you'll see players. I mean, you mentioned a couple that play in quote unquote farmers leagues, and we got to be careful about that because you remember Aster Gugu or whoever else we placed that were farmers
kicked our butts.
Work out very well. But yeah, when they come into the Champions League and they play well, I think that needs to be checked out. I think because it is the toughest competition as far as you put everything together. However, the Premier League probably arguably is the strongest and one of the paciest competitions out there. Mm-hmm. I think you got to look at both aspects of it. But if they are playing well for a club, from Austria or from somewhere else like that, and they're playing well in the Champions League, then you got to kind of put that into effect a little bit, at least as far as credibility. And like you said, if it's a midfielder and they're playing good there, they're going to probably play good anywhere. If it's a forward, maybe it's a little bit different. If it's a defender, maybe a little bit different. But yeah, I think you got to definitely take it into effect that it might be beneficial anyway if they're playing that good in the biggest competition in the world.
Nick, is there somebody you're thinking of?
There's a number of them. In the interest of sounding less biased, I'll take a break from players of Balkan descent, but still on a Balkan club. I'm thinking Dani Olmo, who is a Spaniard who played with Pablo Fornals in the Spain U21 World Cup or whatever, Spain U21 Euros that they just won this past summer, right when we bought. I think they won it right after we bought Fornals. And several of their prized midfielders were Pablo Fornals, Dani Ceballos, who plays for Arsenal, who's on loan for Arsenal now, and Dani Olmo, who plays for Dinamo Zagreb. And you wouldn't really hear about him other than the fact that he's really good for Zagreb. But other than me complaining to you guys, how many people are really talking about how Dinamo Zagreb's doing? But he's done incredibly well domestically and in his showings for them. In the Champions League games that they've played so far.
Sure.
And so that's a player. He's very young. He's Spanish. He knows a player that we just signed, and there's a lot of stats to back up the quality of bringing someone into a team that has an established chemistry with a player that they played with before. Ante Rebic. there's a lot to be said about bringing in a player that has played with someone you have already, to sort of transfer over that chemistry. And I think that he's a really interesting case for me because he's played really well for his country's under 21s, which was one of our selling points on Fornals, who looked incredible during the under 21s Euros. And he has played well in games against teams like, Shakhtar Donetsk and Atalanta. And now, granted, some will say, like, Atalanta is not one of the perennial powerhouses in Serie A, and Shakhtar Donetsk play in Ukraine, and the Man City game against Zagreb wasn't exactly close. But would I give our midfield a chance against kind of any of those three teams? Like
5-0 first day of the season.
Yeah, Man City, that's an obvious answer. Shakhtar Donetsk, like, listen, I can't speak to the quality of the Ukrainian league altogether, but I think Yarmolenko probably wouldn't love our chances playing against Shakhtar Donetsk. And so this is where I get, we obviously being in the supporters of a Premier League club, a lot of Premier League fans are very heavy-handed on the Premier League being the best league in the world, and I think it is. But I get caught up a lot with people saying, "Oh, we need to be signing players that are Premier League proven," when it's not feasible at a certain point. If you're Premier League proven, you're either good enough that you're already playing for a top 6 club, you're good enough that you're getting bought by a top 6 club, or you're just sort of doing a job at another club. And at a certain point, you run out of players in the Premier League. You got to look somewhere else. The top 6 clubs aren't top 6 clubs because they've only bought players from other Premier League clubs. That's just that's like an inbred gene pool. You're just picking out of and
it doesn't always work. The people who've spent the most money in the last several years on transfers, Man United, and it's not close, folks.
Yeah.
Again. You guys are gonna get tired of me talking about it. Price of Football. Go listen to it. There's a whole.
I listened to that today. It's actually really good. I'll give you that.
It is. It is not sexy. He's talking finances, okay? But I'm a numbers guy and I love football, so it just works for me. So Nick, listen. To answer your question, if somebody can kick it in the championship, and they've got tools, look at our club. Do you think we got room?
I would hope so. I would, because there's a class of Champions League clubs that we're not playing ball with.
Nope.
We can't. For instance, to shift, and you're gonna have to stop me soon, but
Nick. This is the favorite part of my Monday. Talking to you boys about football. Look, I can go fill up all night.
I just tagged you guys in an article, I think yesterday, about 2 Croatian players that their national team coach thinks need to find a new club. Ivan Rakitic and Ante Rebic. I've talked about Ante Rebic at length.
I'd take Rakitic. I'd take him.
I'd take them both.
Here's the point I'm trying to make about who we can reasonably scout from. Ante Rebic played for Frankfurt for a number of years with Aller, plays really well for the national team. I think he's like 25. I consider him, I would say he's maybe my top candidate. If we were to buy splash cash on anybody, I would want to take Ante Rebic. The other player that the Croatian national team manager thinks needs a new club is Ivan Rakitic, who has made a career as an incredible midfielder, particularly at Barcelona. He's a little up there in age now, but he's still one of the best midfielders in the world. And he's not getting played by Barcelona because they have other priorities. He's had, I think, an injury issue here or there, but nothing super significant. And when they wanted to bring Neymar back in the summer, they needed to cut budget. And one of the first players that they looked to as someone who they could sell to make room monetarily for Rakitic, or for Neymar to come back from PSG, was Rakitic. And so he knows that the club doesn't want him as much as he wants to be there. And this is the prime difference, is that you've got Ante Rebic, who's sitting the bench at AC Milan, at a struggling now AC Milan, despite their former aptitude in Europe. Mm-hmm. And then Ivan Rakitic. There are certain clubs like Barcelona that West Ham can't go in for Ivan Rakitic. We do not exist in the universe where West Ham have the money to go in for Ivan Rakitic. Not going to happen unless he has
it's a loan
with the management and at Barcelona, and they just want to kick him out on a free. There's no way we can. And someone else would take him. Someone else would get him way before they could offer him way bigger wages than we could offer him. So, long story short, the point I'm trying to make is that if you're looking for top class players, you run out of people in the Premier League really quick. There's only 20 teams in the league. At a certain point, you got to look elsewhere in Europe, and there's a lot of good clubs in Europe that we are just not in the same sort of business league as at the moment to be dealing with them. And so there is a class of European talent that I think the Premier League proven player argument overlooks. And I would argue that Ante Rebic is chief among them, that he is not Premier League proven. That's absolutely for sure. He is a World Cup finalist, and he is a proven goal scorer when playing alongside Sebastian Haller. So
the only challenge is I think he's been registered for 2 clubs this year, so I'm not sure he can play for us this year.
I would be, based on the number of people that are speculating that he wants to leave Milan in January, I would be surprised if there was a hang-up, because there's a lot of talk around him right now that he might want to leave in January. And
I would take him. I would take both those guys.
Perfect.
In the interest of time, because I can see Jeremiah doing the same thing I'm doing, looking over at the kids who are coming in, checking in on me every now and then. Oh, Jeremiah, do you need a break?
No, I'm good. You don't want me to drink anymore.
I got to get on a flight to San Diego tomorrow. I might drink a lot more tonight. All right. I want to talk. We got 2 matches before we talk next. We got Wolves on Wednesday, and we got Arsenal on Monday. Unless
whoa, what?
Yeah, check it out, dude.
Oh, that's bad news.
Well,
no.
Is it, here's what I don't know. Is it good news or is it not good news?
Well,
Go ahead.
Why it's bad news for me is that my parents are coming to New York this weekend, and I had planned to take my dad to Smithfield Hall on Saturday morning for West Ham, and now there is not West Ham on Saturday morning, which I had not realized was the case. That's bad news.
Okay.
Because now we have to find something else to do with him while my mom and grandma are at the Rockettes at Radio City Music Hall.
Well, how about this? I was going to go to the pub on Saturday and go watch. I'm kind of glad I'm not. Listen, Mile High Hammers are great people, and the Celtic on Market is a great bar, but it's really much more an Arsenal bar. I didn't want to be there that Saturday. It could just listen. The Arsenal fans in Denver are great guys. They're genuinely, they really are good people. But that match is not going to. It's going to go badly for somebody. Did Emery get fired today?
Earlier this week.
He did get fired. Sorry, that's right. It's not Emery I'm thinking of. It's Everton. Everton's got to get.
No, Marcus Silva.
He's still there.
Wow.
Watford fired their second manager for the season.
I saw that. Watford's in real trouble.
And Unai Emery got the sack immediately after losing to Eintracht Frankfurt.
Yeah.
Sorry, I remember
just
that.
Killing people off.
So I want to take 2 minutes. This is a really short segment. 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Where are you at with Manuel Pellegrini right now? Nick, 30 seconds. Go.
I'm just taking it day by day. I feel fine. Whatever. We beat Chelsea. I'm good. Wolves will be tough. Arsenal, we definitely got it in us. We beat them last year with Declan Rice's first ever goal for the club, and they look particularly shit right now. And I think Antonio in an interview said that beating Chelsea is feels like the season started over, like they got a fresh start. That's weird if you analyze it too much, but from a confidence standpoint, sure, why not? We could theoretically come away with between 4 and 6 points in the space of 7 days.
Here are the options: 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 6 in the next week. So it's going to be weird. Jeremiah Pellegrini.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we beat Chelsea. He's here. He's our guy. I think that if we go ahead and we lose the Wolves, we lose the Arsenal, and then I think we have Southampton the following weekend after that. If it's something where we lose the next 3, or we get like 1 point out of the next 3, then maybe it comes back up again. I wouldn't say he's safe at all, But for now, he's our guy. And to answer your question, you said 1, 2, 3, 4, or 6. Out of these next two, I'm gonna go with 2. I think that we're going to end up drawing both matches. I don't think we're going to lose, but I mean, Wolves is kind of they're a tough side. They're not playing good right now, and Arsenal are still Arsenal, and they're going to figure it out. They're going to play okay. I'm going to stay mediocre. I'm going to stay on the fence and say 2. Okay.
I'm going 4. I think that Pellegrini. Listen, I'm still right now, this very moment, I'm Pellegrini out, but I'll give him the look. He showed he could change. He changed the formation. He changed the personnel. Sent a message, and I don't know if you saw it, but little bit of a flare-up with him and Anderson coming off on the weekend. I'm okay with that. Get in these guys' faces. Make them uncomfortable. Right now, I'm Pellegrini out, pursuant to the next 3 matches. All right, enough of that. We just talked about what we think we'll do in the next couple of matches. We talked about Pellegrini. We've talked about the kids. Guys, I always say that this is my favorite part of every Monday. I love talking football with you. Nick, I'm going to see you Tuesday.
Oh, wow.
A week tomorrow, I will be in New York City. I'm bringing my boss, so you have to be good. Actually, no, you don't. Yeah, he's a much worse influence on you than I will ever be.
Your boss is coming to my bar. He's got to be on his best behavior.
He'll be happy to meet college girls. He's a grandpa, but he's good meeting college girls. Jeremiah, you doing all right, buddy? You having a good week?
I am, fellas. I know, and I think we're getting towards the end of this, so I want to throw in my one last word or whatever. I know we're kind of we're busy right now, right? We got a match on Wednesday, we got a match again on Monday, and then we got a match again the following weekend. So we got a lot coming, and it's going to get even more crowded before Christmas comes around. But when you guys are bored, if you haven't checked it out yet, and I don't know if I'm sure you've heard of it. This guy called Canning Town Len. You guys know who I'm talking about? Yeah. If you haven't watched the documentary, I think it's Everyone's Second Club or Everybody's Second Club. One of the two. It's fantastic. It's on Amazon Prime. It's like $3.50 or like $3.50. It's it all goes back to him because I think he paid for it all out of pocket.
Cool.
Fantastic documentary. It's all based around like right at the end of the 70s, beginning of the 80s FA Cup win. Really, really well put together documentary for West Ham. So yeah, check that out whenever you're bored of not watching the matches because we're about to be pleased with a bunch of matches. So
well,
yeah.
And we get a weekend off because Liverpool's got to play in the Club World Cup. So we're actually gonna get an unintentional break. Nick, you know what you and I need to do in the next week or two? We need to do a financial video. We need to talk about the finances of video.
You can play the straight man, and I'll do the jokes because I don't have anything to offer other than that.
So just you get this. Nick said, TalkSport today talked about how everybody's wants to leave BT and Sky because it's £80 a month, and there should be a £9 a month, subscription to the EPL. Well, I went and did the math. Trust me, folks, the English Premiership is really addicted to TV money. £9 a month ain't gonna get it done. I will do the numbers. I'll have a chat with Nick. You can all fall asleep. I love it. I'm happy.
I might fall asleep.
It'll be good showing.
All right, boys. Hey, I'm going to close it out tonight. Nick, you gave me a couple of good segments I can turn into 2-minuters. Jeremiah, I got a couple things from you on the kids. Listen, folks, love doing this. We'll put this up on the West Ham Way tonight, hopefully. I got to fly tomorrow. I'm going to try and break some stuff up and put it on Twitter. Nick, can you help us out? I want you to retweet some of the Instagram stuff you did. And, folks, in the meantime, come on, you all right?